to be used for. This was introduced by virtue of the fact it was an attempt to try and fight terrorism, money laundering for that matter. But members of parliament are saying that this has become now a bit of an impediment for those who would like to transact, genuine businessmen that would like to transact. So it's good we have a member of parliament here. Are you part of those who are fighting banks on daily cash limit rule?
We are not fighting banks, but we are saying implementing the rule has really inconvenienced Kenyans, and especially those who are doing very good business like fishermen down there. People end up sleeping with money in their houses, because when you go to the bank, you are given a form as if you're looking for a job, to fail and even explain so many things which you don't expect from somebody who is doing a business. Even somebody like me, you go to the bank, you want to withdraw your money, and you are being subjected to a long kind of interview, which is unnecessary. When we talk about terrorism, even with the laws in place, we were still attacked just the other day.
But now, what would you have as a solution? Because from the bank side, what they're trying to do is limit money laundering issues. And secondly, what we do know is that in terms of funding terrorism, they use a lot of money transferred from and to and fro. So that just becomes, let me say, it slows it down. What solutions would you offer that now the bank would implement in that regard?
What we are saying is that we can fight terrorism using other ways and means. But if you are targeting our own banks, we are injuring our economy.
What are the means and ways would there be? Because it's okay to criticize one way of doing things, but then offer a solution.
We have police, we have empowered DCI officer, we have EACC and everybody. We can even track how the money has been deposited after the service. But now, trying to block somebody from accessing his own account and even inconveniencing you going to the account, and you're now ending up taking an option of keeping the money with you, we are injuring our economy.
All right. Ambrose, your thoughts on this and whether it is indeed a genuine fight back by, or rather, members of parliament coming out to say that it's slowing down some businessmen, genuine businessmen.
I think the members of parliament should have come out very clearly. This thing was not to fight terrorism. It was, I think, more enforced during elections so that you control people's monies all over. Otherwise, in an economy of 3 trillion, asking people when they are dealing with 1 million is like somebody has 1 million shillings, but whenever he spends 10 bob or 5 shillings, you ask him, can you explain? So the explanations by the time you finish their million will be so much. So I think let's not talk about terrorism or money laundering and so on and so forth. Let's look at looking at suspicious monies, where you say that what you do and what you work and how you have been banking is different from now what a transaction. But if somebody has been in that range, then surely if you ask, let's say, Serena Hotel, you are now banking today, you are banking 3 million, you are banking 2 million. Can you explain? That's a total different bond game. And if you don't ask them and you ask whether, then you are discriminating me. You just look at me and say, whether looks very poor. So tell us where you got this money has come from. They should find a more tidy, more better way of tracking down suspicious money. But you can't track down every Kenyan, surely. This is our country. We are not the foreigners here.
Because, well, according to the bank, they say that they're part of a global system that seeks to insulate the industry against money laundering and financing of terrorism. So it's not something that the bank has taken out on their own and said it's only the Kenyan bank.
Can you allow me to? We have been to other countries. You actually walk in there with money. Carried in your hands.
Transact as you wish.
Yes. So some are in your card, some are in cash. You just declared some. In some countries, you don't even declare. You just come in, they want you to spend. If you spend badly, they arrest you. So here saying is part of global. Which global? When we are talking about some very successful economies. I think that it was more about controlling political money in the last elections and maybe in future, and ensuring that your opponents are as poor as possible. When your money is in the go downs, you pick. And they're encouraging Kenyans actually to keep their money at home.
Okay. Well, that's a debate that continues, and we'll wait and see whether members of parliament are going to pass a law that's going to maybe come against that, because that's one of the things that they said they could do. But let's look at another story on page 6. Over 10 billion feared lost in new NHIF pay scandal. Now, the National Hospital Insurance Fund could have lost more than 10 billion in false medical claims, investigations have said. We are back to the health sector, and now in Kenya we seem to deal with billions. We deal in, cash that is almost not even fathomable when it comes to an ordinary Kenyan. Whether 10B could be lost in this. And of course, I was having a discussion over the weekend, and the question is, it's very, very difficult to steal from government. Almost impossible. Because of the systems that are in place. For you to even get a tender, for example, there are so many forms that you have to fill in. There are so many things that you have to do. So when 10 billion disappears or is feared lost, isn't this just literally laughing in our faces?
I think, let me correct, it is a lot easier to steal from government than to steal from private individuals. Because for government, as long as you fulfill the regulations, the law, the way it is required, did you get the tender documents, did you fill it in good time, did you qualify, all those things, whether what you do is madogodanio, as long as you are within the law, and you can read the law and get it. That's why today we have people who help you in the tender process. You want a tender, you just hire them, and then they follow the law strictly until you get the money. The only thing is that there's no good service. Individually, somebody, even if I followed the procedure, you'll still say, Buana, this is not the newspaper I expected. So don't tell me you followed the process. So NHIF, over the years, has been known to have issues. Now that they are flowing in cash, Kenyans are paying a lot. You will find there's conspiracy between health facilities and individuals. And through that, they actually take out a lot of money. Other than that, doctors are also fleecing us. You go there, they look at your eyes, they say, this one needs admission. Why do they want to admit you? Because somebody has a construction site somewhere, he would like to make a lot of money. I saw something trending on social media, that somebody, I think a lady, was admitted for 40 days in ICU. The bill is 12 million. The lady herself is dead. So when you go to a doctor and they test you the way you look, ICU, you go there even if they want to make money, you have no way of checking. So these scandals are done, NHIF is involved, doctors are involved, and the victim is me and you who doesn't know
what's going on.
Yes.
In fact, on NHIF, I think 10 billion is understated.
It could be more.
More, because me personally, I worked very closely with NHIF. I was part of the team of those who negotiated for a medical scheme of civil servants to be covered through NHIF. And I can tell you, corruption in NHIF, we are yet to dig deep into the root cause. That place, even when you look at from 2012 up to now, they have changed almost 5 CEOs. Ask yourself why. That's now a cash cow, where even the top people in this government are direct beneficiaries there. So it's an area which we need a total overhaul if you want to get something out of it. So the
question now comes in, because like Ambrose has mentioned, if you fill in and you put the requirements as per the law, you're likely to get that tender. In short, you'll be able to transact and work with government and even with NHIF. Now, the question remains, if there's this 10 billion loss, 10 billion is not pocket change that somebody has dropped somewhere. 10 billion is a lot of money. How is it that we claim that we do not know who has stolen it?
Let me say something on how we corrupt the systems in the government. Ask yourself, you look at all the billionaires we have in this country. All of them have done business with the government. There is no single Kenyan who can be a billionaire if you have not gained access to the government tenders. That one is a clear pointer that the easier way of getting wealth, you get yourself into business with the government. You become a billionaire in a day. In NHIF, where the reason why stealing money from NHIF becomes very easy. Like when we managed to get a medical scheme with NHIF, they came up with this thing called capitation, whereby they estimate the number of members who are supposed to attend one facility. Then they pay money in advance. Then they go back to the ICT department. They lump people in one facility. They send money for those people. The next day, these people are back in their facilities. They go and divide that money scot-free. So we need to go deep to establish how this money is being stolen. It's being stolen through the facilities, the way my brother was putting it here. You say 10,000 Kenyans will be treated in Mbagathi hospital. You calculate with a certain amount, you send that money to Mbagathi. When Mbagathi receives the money, they divide with the management. Then the ICT department, again, distribute these people back to the facilities they're supposed to be. So if you go there and you are not an ICT expert, and go and re-examine the movement of patients in facilities, you'll not know, because you'll be given, this hospital is having 10,000 clients, this one is having 20. So you go with the 20, but the 20 will be there for only 1 week. After payment, they're transferred back to the facilities where they're supposed to be, and the money is gone.
And let's hope that this is something that can be sorted out, because really, for Kenyans, it is a matter of life and death. Later on, we're going to be talking about corruption, and this is a subject that we have talked over and over and over again. But I think until we all realize that corruption is actually really a matter of life and death, then I think we may be very slow to ensure that it is gotten rid of. Page 10. Ruto to consider naming a female running mate for 2022. He gave the strongest indicator so far that, well, he could be going for a running mate who is female. Your thoughts, Weda? Maybe an idea that is due, because, you know, women have been saying they have been ignored in matters leadership. Maybe it's about time we had a deputy president who was a woman.
I don't know what he will consider. I think maybe at that time, if he was to consider it correctly, he'll be considering who will bring in more vote, who controls a voting block, and not necessarily a lady. I know if ladies were willing to back each other, they will take over power, because there are very many. So I think for now he may be speculating, but at that time, circumstances will dictate who would best bring more votes. I thought if that time I can bring more votes, I should be the running mate. So if he says I'm looking for a lady, and then he will be staring defeat in the face. But I think it is a right step in the directions. The ladies themselves should be saying, come 2022, a lady should be president. We see whether this NHIF billions would be recovered, because we have been in the hands of men, and their appetite for stealing is much higher than the one for ladies. So we wish him well, but I think circumstances will determine who the running mate is.
And of course, at that time, Mheshimiwa, do you think it's about time we had a deputy president? Not even a deputy president, have a female president?
It will depend on how you bring voters behind you. But on this one of William, I think he's just testing waters. The issue of number 2 for him, I think is almost out of his hand, because it must be dictated by other forces.
By other forces.
By him.
All right. Well, maybe it's still it's still too early to tell. He could also be testing the waters just to see how things come out. But anyway, that's what we have for you on the Standard. Let's also take a look at the Daily Nation before we wind up. A very, very worrying headline there. And children on drugs, the shocking revelation. And this is to do with I don't know whether I'd call them soft drugs, especially given that they're targeted to children, and the fact that they're very accessible, and children seem to be being brought into an addiction level very, very early. Ambrose Weda, this is completely worrying, and, you know, for any parent, actually for a nation.
Yes. You know, actually, the way the drugs are sold, the drugs, people don't look for it. The first sale, the first dose is given free. It's normally given, so they look for your children, then they give it, then they test it. Once they test it and the test buds and the body system accepts it, then the body now demands it. Then you become addicted. then now you can go for it. That's why they'll target the children of people they perceive have money or have things to be sold in the homes. Then they attract others. So it is a very dangerous thing. You look now when you go to high schools now, we don't allow students to come with juice and so on and so, because inside the juice is laced with drugs, all sorts of things. It has become very, very complex. And once somebody is addicted to it, it's a whole process to get the drugs out of the body. That's why the fight against drugs in some countries is so serious that it is a death sentence. And people know and they don't try. But in our countries like here, you will find you have done a big house and the children, each child has his own room, and you feel nice and you tell friends. But inside there is their drug dens. One day when you are told your child is a serious drug addict, you can never tell. So the drug menace starts mainly from the children.
From the children.
The young ones. And by the time you learn, it is too late. All
right, very, very sad. And Mheshimiwa, I don't know if you'd like to weigh in on this.
I just wanted to say that the problem, if you look at it deeper, it reflects the rot in our society, and mostly the way we bring up our children. Parentage, there is a big challenge to us, because you'll find most of our young ones, some of them are being exposed from the parents themselves. They see what the parents are doing, then at the end of the day, they think that's the normal life, they follow it. So the challenge is just starting from the family, then you go to the society.
All right, and well, that's a story that you'd like to get your hands on the copy of the newspaper and just see what that is all about. But also on the front page is Ministry stops laptop project and will now build computer labs. Jubilee's promise seems to be literally fizzling away, especially when it comes to the laptop project. Let me start with you, Mheshimiwa. Now they say that they're going to build computer labs, and if they didn't manage to deliver the tabs to standard 1 children, how is this going to be done? Or is it another cash cow?
I want to be very sincere with you. I know maybe people will say I'm talking because I'm an opposition MP, but this one I said from the initial stages, when the idea of laptops came in. When you look at our country, we were due for computer labs, but not the laptop we were trying to come up with. That was a project which failed before even implementation.
Failed flat, right.
Before even implementation. We were dreaming of something which was far ahead of us, because you look at our schools, we are ill-equipped. We only need a class with computers where our students can do lessons and go back to class. They share. But saying that you want to deliver a laptop to all students from nursery coming up with our economy, the kind of economy we have, with security we have outside there of those laptops, you go outside there. Even that small amount they distributed outside there, it has not been put anywhere. There is no computer lab, there is no computer classes, there is nothing. Like in my constituency, you find a school given 10, 5, some nil. So that one was a project which failed. But the approach they are now taking currently,
for labs,
I think that one will succeed.
Okay, Ambrose, your thoughts?
I think it's sad. We are very sorry that that project is now dying. But it was a very good thing. It was doable if it was not fertilized with corruption and disorganization and all sorts of things. Where we are going, the computers, the laptops, they could be easily coded that you can steal them, you can't use them elsewhere. But the maths was not worked out. How many children do we have? Which schools are there? Which schools have problems? Which schools do not have? It was just done, bring laptops. So it was more about organization. The thought was good. But the implementers they either did not conceptualize it or they got it wrong. We started with Ambassador Kamenyi, who did not know the front and the back. Then now we have Mina Ali also, all these things. So it's very sad that that part is going. But let's keep it as let's now not rush into the computer labs. Let's first of all rush into knowing, do we have schools that have all permanent classrooms? We still have schools that you cannot tell the door and the window,
and some
because you
even
can walk
still, learning under
a tree. So let us start from the basics. Let us ensure every school has enough classrooms. You take stock. If Nyatike has more, the way I've seen some of your schools have not been doing well in terms of infrastructure, but now you are doing a good job. We work out and say, this area, let us put in money. In Nairobi, they don't have temporary classrooms. Let's do it differently. So that all our schools in the country have permanent classrooms. Then we look at, do they have electricity? Then we go to, do they have secure computer labs? Then we go to the computers. But if we rush to the computers, because some people also want to eat a few billions. So you say, bring computers.
Okay, I wanted to add something. When we talk about computer lab, let us come up with a package which includes infrastructure. You build a computer lab, you supply computers, you bring electricity. Because as we are talking, there was a project where we were to connect all primary schools. And I can tell you it's not to be above 50%. When you meet politicians talking here, they'll say they have achieved it. It's not there.
It's not there. On the ground, it's not there.
It's not there. Like in my constituency, I got 80% of transformers supplied in my constituency. None of them is working. They were fake. So can you say that those schools were supplied with electricity? With the fake transformers. So we need to look at how do we develop a workable infrastructure of computer lab, which will include the building itself, the computer inside, electricity, and the teacher.
But the question then remains, who comes up with these policies and these ideas, and have they thought through? Because by the time it is getting to a policy level and the money is being released, then we imagine that there has been some thought process. But it looks like normally there is no thought whatsoever that has gone through it, into it.
What I can tell you, like experience we have gotten from the laptop project, that was a political cause. And when it was made, they never come up with a clear way of implementing it. That's why it faced challenges. But again, now, when we talk about the computer lab, let's think through it and come up with a workable budget and follow the implementation. But let us not forget, there are very clever Kenyans here who will think of computer lab, think of the package, and again, go ahead and think of the money. So the target will be that money before even implementation. That's why we do fail.
And that's why we fail. All right. Whether do you agree that sometimes it's actually the money that is chasing the idea rather than the other way around? It's not an idea.
Actually, it is the money, because if you are looking at, I always insist, order of priority, then our basic priority would be to employ teachers. Leave alone computer teachers. Just basic teachers who teach Jesus Christ was born, he died, he was crucified, like that. Those teachers, we don't have them. We don't have those teachers. Not only is not talking about everybody, I know that most schools, both primary and secondary, are employing teachers on board. Unfortunately for primary, since they don't charge fees, they have nowhere, so some teachers are paid 800 shillings a month. The damage is too much. So before we jump into computer labs and CGU like Singapore, like what, let us just employ teachers, basic ones. Then from there we will move to the higher. So it's about money. Somebody says, if you are employing teachers, there will be no money to make. But if you are doing computers, somebody will be in China, another one will be India, another one will be in JK Yokata, another one will be in Nairobi. But then the tender is big enough. So when the tender is big, the testing is
large. All right, we also have another story here with Musalia Mudavadi saying that we now need to move from handshake to handcuffs. And this, of course, is in light of corruption. And according to him, the handshake was a good beginning, but it has now slowed down the fight on corruption. Mheshimiwa, do you agree that the handshake has somewhat slowed down? I think even over the weekend, the opposition leader, Raila Odinga, was making statements to the effect that the opposition is still very much alive, is still there, and are still keeping an eye on government. Do you think that with the handshake, they're still keeping an eye on government?
But I think the energy to fight corruption came in after the handshake. So I don't think it has slowed down anything. So my friend Mudavadi should look for political relevance somewhere else, but not on this one.
Not there.
Not on this
Whether
one.
do you think the fight that has to fight corruption has slowed down because of the handshake?
No, I think because Honorable Raila is now not protecting some people, I think it has enhanced it. It is only that because the head prefect has joined the headmaster, Now the difference is a bit difficult. Now Honorable Raila and Uhuru appear to be one and the same thing. Therefore, the opposition has gone under, because the same Honorable Raila will say, you are now fighting government. And because people fear him, especially his men like Mudavadi, the opposition has gone to the coolest. But the fight against corruption, by aligning with the president, I think it has been more enhanced. Now the president is stronger, it is a bit quiet. You know, when Jacob is quiet, the country is quiet. Therefore, it is a positive thing.
It is a positive thing. All right, that's where we're going to wind up the newspaper review. This morning, it's now 5 minutes after 7, and we take a short break. When we come back, we look at the way it is, and the way it is, of course, with several CSs brought before the EACC and others being investigated. The question is the momentum on corruption gaining traction, and what more can be done to ensure that this country at least reduces